Ahoy there, my hearties. My name's Sam, and this is my sailing channel, Sam Sails. You join me on board my Nicholson 32 Stowaway. In the last episode, we went over to Belgium to visit the Maritime Festival at Oostende. After 2 days there, it was time to head back to the UK. The only problem was I only had a very, very small weather window. Lots of gales coming up through the English Channel, so we had to be quite careful. I've decided I'm going to head for Lowestoft. Just wary about the weather at the minute. I think it's due to pick up later on the afternoon. Sit back, relax and enjoy the ride, and if you haven't done so already, give the subscribe button a click.
Dover and wide. Gale warning Monday, 26th of May.
Hello there, sir. It's Yacht Stowaway. Just requesting a lockout for this evening, if possible. At 7 PM. Yeah, that's fine. That's brilliant. I'd prefer to wait in Montgomery, if possible, until early hours of the morning. 18:45. Okay, brilliant. Will do. Thank you. Bye bye. So I've just phoned to reserve a spot with the Mercator lock, because there's a lot of boats that want to be moving and capturing this weather window. It's blowing bells out there at the minute, sort of 25 gusting 37 knots, but that is dying off from sort of midday today, and then settling out at around about sort of a reasonably steady 4-6, 5 to 6 throughout the night, and then tomorrow morning it's easing slightly again, but the angle of the wind is changing. So I'm even though I'm planning for Lowestoft at the minute, I'm hoping that wind angle change will allow me to get a little bit further south and even maybe into Harwich. Just gonna have to start prepping the boat because it's still very in festive mode. Can't have things like 18 packs of Jupiler flying around the place. Need to do my form filling for UK customs and for leaving Belgium as well, and get my passport stamped out, and that should be that really. The other issue is how I'm going to get out of here, because I'm currently stuck in the corner with the wind blowing me right onto this lovely Naval Commission boat from the 1920s, 1930s I think. I'm probably going to need a little bit of a hand to get out of here. I do not want to start smashing into these boats right in front of all these people. The organisers of the festival are extremely helpful, and they can't do enough for you. It's unbelievably well organised. Looking out for skippers. We had a barbecue yesterday and a few drinks in the hydrograph vessel. Really nice. Fantastic barbecue, fantastic company. So yeah, total thumbs up for the festival organisers and sorting us out here. It's also free of charge, so there's literally no pay here at all. I haven't paid a thing the whole time, and I think that continues all the way from Friday when the festival starts through to Tuesday, so there's a couple of days grace for vessels waiting for weather windows, etc. So yeah, really brilliant incentive to come up here. It's blowing about 20 knots out there at the minute. It's crazy. So this is going to be a real challenge trying to get out of this spot. So I asked for some help and I got a tow out. Got a stern line wrapped around this harbour vessel, harbour power boat, and it pulled me out of the slot quite easy. There's a little bit of a close call with the vessel's anchor on the front, but I just had to gun it in forward just to get the stern round, and then we were sort of dragged out backwards and into the open part of the marina. Cheers. I quite like transiting this lock because you are right in the middle of the city, and people are like kind of going up about the day, visiting various places, and there's taking a real interest in the boats coming through. It's kind of part of the city, so it's not uncommon to have or start having a full-blown conversation with some of them are asking where I'm going to, have I enjoyed the festival, did you go here, did you go there. Sure what happened, but the boat that I've just kind of collided with, I think was trying to figure out which boat to raft onto. So I couldn't really stop because the wind was behind me and the lock gates were just behind me as well. So I kind of just rammed him, and then he just went forward and rafted alongside the boat there. It's an extremely low tide that day, and so the lock was going to be dropped by 3 meters. It doesn't sound much, but it was a hell of a long way. Another YouTuber, Ollie Boys from Boated Out, had caught me hanging on to the lock wall there. So and he sent that over. They had the same plan as I did, to raft alongside the Royal North Sea Yacht Club pontoon and wait for the morning.
I just want to get away from the wall. Pirates of the Caribbean wall. I bet you've got fucking voices on there now.
So that was pretty good. Ah, that's all I can do. Huh? I don't understand. Sorry. Just came alongside this open visitors pontoon in the Montgomery Lock, just on the Royal North Sea Yacht Club pontoon. Nose out, just facing the entrance there, so all ready to go. Just moored up here at the Royal North Sea Yacht Club, Oostende. It's actually quite nice because there was a massive frigate here, and it's moved probably about half an hour before we came through. So there's a big long section here that we came alongside. There's Twister 28 owned by a guy called Nicholas, and they just invited us on board for a load of spaghetti. So my favourite. So that was really well sought after sort of 2 or 3 days of kind of beer and all the rest of it. So, but the plan is now to wait until sort of early hours, 2 o'clock. Last check on the weather, and then leave. Ollie's just gone over to the pier and just gave it a once over and said it looks all right. So he's thinking of leaving in an hour or two, and but I'm going to stick with the original plan. The issue I have is the wind direction needs to be favourable for trying to make for Harwich. So, and that doesn't change direction until sort of more towards the early part of the afternoon. So, but it does get stronger. So I need to be a bit careful with that. Obviously failing that, lowest off is the main sort of plan B, if you like. So we'll see how it goes. So after a couple of hours kit, alarm went off at 1 o'clock, and I started prepping myself
and the boat for departure. Trying to make everything as tight as possible so this doesn't go flying around everywhere. Put my bunk away. So Ollie went out with Elise a little while ago and has now come back in. He was sending me messages saying that there's white water running across the entrance, and yeah, the conditions are pretty awful. So I'm still going to make a go of it. I've got everything on, wet weather gear, just trying to sort the boat out, make sure everything's good, doesn't become an absolute bomb site. I expect it still will, but you know, you can try and at least keep some of it in place. So yeah, let's see how we get on. A quick engine check before departure and check my water strainer filter, which was, as normal, pretty blocked.
Too good.
Around 1:30 I cast lines and made for the exit of the dock. Really wasn't sure what I was going to expect at the harbour entrance. Just made the boat sort of see where as best as possible before I got there. I did not want to be getting fenders and lines in while I was out there getting thrown around the place in the dark. It's just asking for trouble. These lights on the new harbour outing here are actually quite nice. It gives you the feeling of, like, you know, the street lights when you're walking home from the pub. That's kind of how it felt when I motored past. Anyway, quick communication call with Oostende Port Control, just to let them know that I was leaving and just to request any traffic update. And they replied with an all clear and all the best for the trip. As I motored along the port channel towards the port entrance, I was focusing hard on getting everything ready, the wind pilot set up, getting everything in, fenders, lines, etc. And the next most important thing is getting the sails up. The main sail was hoisted up to the second reef. Just coming up to the entrance, you can see the starboard light on the left, and you might just be able to make out the port light on the right hand side, and that is what I'm aiming for between those two lights. You can see some lights flashing just further out in the channel, and they are marking the outside the entrance. So we are approaching the entrance now, and yeah, things are starting to get a little bit lively because there's really only the pier on the left hand side to keep any of the weather back, but obviously there's no sea state where we are now because we are still inside the port. I passed between the two lights marking the entrance out into the North Sea, and the sea state quickly picked up. I just turned the camera around on the entrance there. The tide was extremely strong, sending me northward at a heck of a rate. Needed to get some clearance from the shoreline before going under sail. And I turned my steaming lights off, my deck lights off, and then turned the engine off. And that was the start. Just doing the occasional check on the rig and everything, making sure that there was nothing damaged, We were taking on quite a lot of waves over the deck, and there was quite a lot of pounding as well. Heading into the sea, we were pointing as high as we could, and I did actually have to tack and make a course westbound for a while to compensate for the tide flow, which was extremely strong. It's an amazing thing watching the sun come up, but to actually be there right from the first light is all the way through to the sun actually coming up is quite an incredible thing. It's very different. We're just approaching the large anchor, shipping anchor area offshore, and passing it to the north this time instead of to the south. We're still trying to clear some of the shallow areas of the Flemish coastline, and it is really picking up by this stage. I think this was probably getting on to sort of gusts of 32, 33 occasionally, sort of, I don't know, 25 on average. It was about this time that I noticed something on deck which didn't look right at all, and it was only with the building light that I'd noticed that my anchor, which had been secured with a pretty hefty lump of rope, had disappeared. The anchor was gone. The only thing that I could see across the deck was the chain, which was hanging over the port side. It meant that my anchor was hanging over the side with an unknown amount of chain retracted from the locker. It needed to come out as soon as possible. I had to go on deck. If I ran aground, if the anchor had bedded into the seabed while I was underway like this, I would have caused significant damage to the boat. And even if the anchor's hanging over the side, with all the pounding of the waves, I was at risk of damaging the hull. So I went up on deck and pulled up the chain and pulled the 15 kilogram anchor back over the side and onto the foredeck. So with 35 meters of chain in my chain locker, if that had all gone out, I would have definitely given myself an early morning North Sea anchor spot 20 miles off the Belgian coast. The seabed here is only about 20 meters, and in some areas it's like about 12 as you sort of go over some of the sandbanks. The sea state was deteriorating, so I was getting out. I was keen to get back in, but just needed to get the anchor properly secure. So usually I would really reduce going up on deck to an absolute minimum, although secretly I do really enjoy going up on deck. I suppose it's unsafe to, but you take all the precautions. You have your line attached to your safety line. You can have lines back to the cockpit for your sail trim, etc. But at some point you will have to go up on deck, and it's better that you're used to it than not being used to it.
So at some point in the dark this morning, the rope which was attached the anchor to the deck had wound itself free, and luckily the chain didn't go all the way out, but it was just underneath the waterline. I hope it hasn't done any damage, but I mean it seemed to be pretty stuck there, to be honest. It must have been when I was on the starboard tack, and because it was on the port side. But yeah, like, unbelievable. I'm absolutely soaked. I've taken a lot of water up there. Actually, it felt like I'd just been scuba diving. Progress wise, we're beating to windward as much as we can. Not easy at all. At the minute we're sort of more bound for Lowestoft. but I'm looking forward to maybe a change in wind direction later today. Wind strength is going to get up a bit as well. So yeah, we're just plugging away at it really. I had to do a course correction. I had to run along the coast for about an hour just to get back onto my original track, because I was heading too far to the north. That roar is the sound of my Genoa, a fresh Dacron, and it sounds like the weather's worse than it is, but it just needs a good running in, I think. Just got that on the second reef point in the minute, just while we're trying to point high, but I could probably take the main down to just one reef now. We're still doing 7 knots, so 6 or 7 knots, which is good. What the weather forecast is, but in 6 hours time start to see an increase in wind speed, so I need to be on the UK side by at least getting there by then.
So as predicted in the forecast, there were gales incoming. I really needed to get at least over to the UK side as soon as possible.
Passed over the West Hinder sandbank a little while ago. We're back into deeper water again now. The waves have become slightly more further apart now that we're clear of most of the Flemish banks. The waves had a really close frequency, which meant they were sort of coming from, I think every 1 second I was getting quite a large sort of metre and a half wave over the bank, so there's lots of water on the deck. I've decided I'm going to head for Lowestoft. Don't really want to have to try and negotiate around wind farms and TSSs and stuff like that, so the clear route is to Lowestoft, and I'm just going to try and make some westing in my on my track line, so that when the tide does change and ebb out of the North Sea, then I'm going to fall back on that track. The wind is also due to back around a little bit as well, so that'll be also in my favour. So it's 58 miles to Lowestoft at the minute, so which brings me in at approximately 6 o'clock local. Well, no, yeah, about 5:30, something like that. Just wary about the weather at the minute. I think it's due to pick up later on the afternoon, but we should be on a more of a sort of well, less close to the wind by that stage, but we'll have to see how that goes. Try and do anything in these conditions can be a little bit challenging. I'm I'm not gonna bother cooking anything, because I learned from one of my last trips, or one of my trips last year, that boiling water in certain conditions is not a good idea. So I've got some little snacky things, and I've got some of this. I've got some olives. You know, we had a bit of a meet up in Belgium, and these were scoffed by about 4 people. Yay! That was a big gust. And they didn't leave me much left for this trip, which is, I should have got some more really. But this green stuff is like a pesto type. I don't know what it is.
Sécurité, le cross diffuse le bulletin météorologique spécial de la frontière belge à la baie de Paris. Veuillez passer canal 79-79.
There's a lot of security notices going out at the minute. Oostende, France. You'll probably start to hear them on the Dover side shortly. We've got 55 miles to run to Lowestoft. I expect it's to do with this bad weather that's coming in later on today. So I'm going to call my wind vane Buzz, after Buzz Aldrin, because I'm a bit of a geek like that. But I think it's quite an apt name.
So then it was time to go to the toilet. The dreaded sea toilet challenge. My bog is on the port side, so this means having to kind of do everything uphill. The main thing is that the contents remains in the bog or out to sea. There's been a few times when I've gone in this area and it's been an absolute cesspit. So it was good to see that everything had sort of remained reasonably tidy while we were heading out of Belgium.
This is easily my best view. Thinking back to this morning, Ollie and Graham made a go at coming back to the UK in his Copland Harrier. Elise came back in. He sent me a message shortly after he left, well, shortly after he made the attempt, and said like it was horrible out on the entrance, so they came back in, and it might have been a little easier afterwards, but it's been really quite choppy out here today, and yeah, you've got to make a decision. I know in the bottom of your stomach you think, oh, could I have done it, could I maybe have done it, but hopefully some of this footage bloody hell, some of this footage would have kind of put that sort of to rest a little bit. It would have been an extremely wet run, but how the boat would have sort of dealt with this very sort of sharp waves and the very tight frequency, I'm not sure. It's handy he has everything back to the cockpit, so unlike me I have to go up to the mast step, but still it would have been an extremely uncomfortable trip back. Experiencing the sort of aftermath of a very strong blow from Saturday and Sunday, so it's heaved the weather up, or the sea up, quite well, although it is starting to moderate. Now we're moving into sort of like the Thames estuary area. Being back along the Belgian border, where you've got the whole of the English Channel coming up through, so and that's what I experienced this morning, and it was a little bit messy, to be honest. Cabo Atos, that is 0.2 of a nautical mile away. That's about as close as you ever want to get, although this GoPro probably doesn't show it.
The sea state had moderated slightly, and I did need to make a repair to my kicker strap, which had one of the shackles holding it to the mast had broken free, so I just needed to get up there, replace it, and get some downhaul on my boom again, because the sail was kind of like lifting up over the waves and giving it a pretty shoddy sail shape.
One buggered shackle thing.
So I had to take my my jacket off because it was getting quite warm now, but as I came back into the cockpit, the VHF was starting to go absolutely mental with security calls.
Negative force for sea areas: Humber, Thames, Dover and White. Gale warning Monday, 26th of May. 0938 UTC. Dogger, Humber, Thames. Southwesterly, gale force 8. Expected later.
Had a lovely 4 hours of this running downwind, getting over to the UK side. Winds have just started picking up again, as expected. We're just next to this wind farm here. I think that's Outer Gabbard. We're trucking along at the minute, doing sort of 7 knots over ground. But yeah, it's looking like now a developing gale. So my ETA in Lowestoft is somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock this afternoon, all going well. Gales can come quicker than they forecast. They sometimes come in really quick. I haven't heard any safety broadcasts yet from the Coast Guard about an imminent gale, but I'm kind of listening with very bated breath. So, but yeah, if I do get in or do approach the UK coastline as the gale is building, at least I can run downwind this with this approach, as opposed to trying to hack into Lowestoft on a broad reach or something like that. So that's the plan. Nautical miles to run to Lowestoft. Still managing sort of between 8 and 9 knots over ground, so we're going to hopefully make that in decent time. Yeah, anyone who's out here at the minute needs to seriously think about getting in, because one of the things that they've announced as part of the weather update is that it's a very unstable gale system, which means it could come earlier, it could be later, it could be stronger. So then really not sure about its predictive, you know, how predictable it is. Here it comes. So we're about 10 miles away from Lowestoft now, still maintaining about 9 knots on the ground speed, so we've still got the tide. There's quite a few boats that are heading into Lowestoft as well. What's the time now? It's 3:30 now, local time. And I think this gale is going to come in earlier than they think. I think most of the forecast was like 9 o'clock, and yeah, I'm already seeing sort of gusts of sort of peaking 28 now, and then it's like 16 knots now, and then all of a sudden it's like 28 knots, and I've got a full main at the minute, so I don't really want to reef, and then it goes quiet, and then I'm not making the speed, so entrance to the sort of bank area at Lowestoft. You have to be a bit careful and check out the markers, because the navionics is not always 100% bang on, because they do change quite a bit, these banks. So you do still need to use like Mark 1 eyeball. We've got a sailing yacht just over there. Arrival, just coming in here on slack water, so I've timed that ever so well, and made use of putting the fenders out in the channel. I wouldn't normally do that, but it was slack water, there's no movement on the tide at all. Lowestoft. That's 5:30. Considering I left Oostende at 2 o'clock, that's pretty good going. What a bloody trip. So wet. And I am so tired. I'm going to get in, I'm going to have a beer. So I hope you enjoyed that one.
Homeward bound, rattling winches all, rattling down and stamp and go, rattling winches all, rattling down and stamp and go, rattling winches all. In the hole this gear must go, rattling winches all. Oh, Mr. Lincoln tells me so.
The captain of the sailing boat, which come in at the same time as me, came along and gave me a hand with my lines, which was I was really grateful for.
It's done.
rattle them winches, oh.
So that's where the anchor's done a little bit of, or the anchor chain's done a little bit of damage just along the pavement, but nothing major, which is a miracle. I cannot believe that.
So as forecast, about 10:30 in the evening, wind picked up to gale force 8. However, I didn't know anything about that because I was snoring my head off down below in the cabin. A special thanks to all my regular followers to the channel. I really appreciate the comments from the previous video. If you are new to the channel and want to follow for any future content, then please click the subscribe button. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me as a creator on the platform. I'll see you again soon.
This one more pull and then delay. Rattle them winches, oh. We're only scary enough today. Rattle them winches, oh. Rattle them down and stamp and go. Rattle them winches, oh.